I'm here with Representative Frank Hornstein. He's a proud bus commuter, and I want to talk to you a little bit today about your own journey.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to share this with you.
Yeah, if you will be willing to give us a little bit of your own background as an individual. I know I don't have to twist your arm to talk about community organizing.
That's right.
As well as, especially with the legislative session going on right now, speaking to your role on the transportation, finance, and policy.
Sure. Well, again, thank you. And as you mentioned, my professional background is in community organizing. So I've worked with a lot of nonprofits over the years, organizing communities around issues like affordable housing, transit, immigration, various social justice issues, the environment especially. So I brought those priorities to the legislature when I was elected in 2002. Prior to that, I served on the Metropolitan Council and did a lot of interfaith organizing as well.
That's fantastic. And Frank and I actually know each other briefly from my time at the University of Minnesota when you were serving as an instructor for the Sustainability Studies program.
That's right. I have, in the fall semester, I helped teach the capstone class for Sustainable Studies at the U, meeting wonderful students like you, Carl.
Right. Thank you. So you might wonder why we're standing out here on the street today. So we're standing at a bus stop. This is actually Frank's bus stop on the 6th line. I know your commuting patterns have changed over the last 2 years, but I was really inspired when I was a student hearing about your journey going car-free and really switching to primarily a bus multimodal commute.
Correct.
I'd like to hear a little bit about both your reasoning for that and what inspired you to take that on in the first place.
Well, about 6 years ago, all of my children were in college or even beyond college, but they weren't at home. And I really had no need for a car. You know, when you've got younger children, teenage children, you know, it's important to, to have a car to ferry them from X to Y and different places. I've never really enjoyed driving. So once they left the house, I really decided I don't have a need for a car. So I just became car-free in 2016 and have never looked back.
That's great.
I am fortunate that I live in a community that has decent transit. Of course, it could be better, but I have a reliable bus line a block from my house. I can transfer to another bus or the light rail to go to the state capitol. With a little advanced planning, I can really get almost anywhere in the region by bus. And so I feel a lot less stressed out because I don't have to drive in all kinds of weather. I don't have to deal with distracted or aggressive drivers. I myself am a bit of a guy that drives at or below the speed limit, so I don't miss the fact that people sometimes honk at me or flash their lights. I think it's a good deal for both me and the motoring public. But I just can get to where I want to go and with a lot less stress.
I love that. So you spoke about kind of going cold turkey 6 years ago.
Yeah.
When you first took that on, was there any kind of tips or tricks you think you'd propose to someone who's feeling like they might be intimidated by it right now?
Well, for me, I just immediately noticed the lack of stress in my life. Right. And here's another thing, Carl, saving thousands and thousands of dollars per year. Whether it's on gas, and of course we've got high gas prices now, right. Whether it was saving money on a car payment or insurance or parking, it really adds up, I think, on average to about $9,000 a year savings. On average, some people save more, some people save less, but it's a great way to save a lot of money. And stress.
Both for the individual as well as for the state.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I think there's a lot of upsides, and to me it was just letting someone else do the driving, whether it's on a snowy or icy winter morning or through. Here's someone coming off and
hopping off.
Yeah. So, I think the fact that we have arterial buses now all over the region, we have a plan to build out rapid buses throughout the region, and that's going to be another way people can make this switch. And again, even if you just commute a few days a week, you're saving yourself money, you're saving yourself stress, you're doing something very, very positive for the climate, because transportation is the #1 source of greenhouse gas emissions. So for all of these reasons and more, I think a carefree, car-free lifestyle is a good one to pursue.
That's fantastic. I love that you alluded to bus rapid transit, especially both where we're at now as well as getting to the Capitol for you.
Yes.
I'm a Lake Street resident. I'm anxiously awaiting the B line coming down.
Yes, yes.
I'd love to hear a little bit about your vision of what you think bus rapid transit, BRT as it's kind of colloquially known, is going to be able to bring to transportation in the future for reliability, for timing.
Well, first of all, we know that both road usage and transit declined during the height of the pandemic and our continuing pandemic. It is not over by any means. Road usage has rebounded, but I'll tell you that the arterial bus routes and the local bus routes, while there was some decline in ridership, really held steady. They were resilient through the pandemic. So pre-pandemic, those arterial bus rapid transit lines were meeting and many times often exceeding ridership projections. So it's immensely popular. Why? Because it's very accessible to neighborhoods like this. It makes fewer stops. You can board and disembark very quickly. You pay your fare ahead of time, like light rail. There are nicer stations. There are stations that tell you exactly when the next bus is coming. So this is a very popular form of transit. And last year and the year before at the legislature, we got bipartisan support for building more arterial bus rapid transit lines. That's not always the case at the legislature. So we've got everyone on board with bus rapid transit.
Right. And one of those kind of first places that bus rapid transit is being tested in the future is bus lanes in addition to a two-way bike line and expanded pedestrian facilities on both Public Works as well as the Bicycle Advisory Committee and Pedestrian Advisory Committee's plans for Hennepin Avenue South right now.
Yeah.
I'd be curious if you'd be willing to speak a few words to what residents or business owners can expect for that future.
Well, the city is in a planning process now, and they're engaging with the public. The bottom line for me on Hennepin Avenue is to make sure that new arterial BRT line, known as the E line, can really move effectively and efficiently. Sometimes Hennepin gets very jammed up on rush hour between Hennepin and Lake, and even the buses get caught in that.
Right.
So the bottom line for me with Hennepin Avenue, and I know that there's a lot of controversy here and there about parking and whatnot, but the bottom line for me is efficient movement of those rapid buses, making sure the buses are in fact rapid when they serve uptown. And we also need to ensure that there's safe bike commuting options and pedestrians. We had a hearing 2 weeks ago in the Transportation Committee in the House about this rising number of pedestrian deaths. Also, and injuries, disproportionately among BIPOC people. So any plan for Hennepin has to accommodate pedestrians, bikes, and the E-Line bus rapid transit service.
I love that. I love that you jumped right into speaking to both pedestrian and bicycle safety, our most vulnerable road users. I myself biked here today. Happy to meet you. Quite a multimodal day for us.
Yeah.
I'm was really excited to hear both of those hearings, both on pedestrian and bike safety, as well as traffic safety more generally as well.
Yes.
You can look forward to Move Minneapolis's annual summit this year is actually going to be breaking down that conversation of road safety.
Yes,
With the legislative session going on right now, it's such an important time for investment in the future of undoing decades of frankly, white supremacist investment expanding highways over other modes of transportation. I'm really curious to hear from your perspective what opportunity the households right now to really project to the future in this current legislative session?
Well, our number one priority is making sure that the state matches this historic transformational federal infrastructure bill that was passed by Congress and signed by the President in November. It's known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. This is the biggest infusion of money from the federal government since the New Deal in the 1930s, proportionally. It's actually more than the New Deal, but with inflation. So, we have a historic opportunity to take advantage of that, and that's a multimodal effort as well. But that money isn't free, and the states have to match it.
Right.
So the number one priority is to really make history here in Minnesota by matching the dollars that the federal government is providing for us.
I love to hear that from you. I'm really looking forward to continuing to hear from both great local leaders in these hearing sessions, as well as what you can bring to the table with your other coworkers as well.
Yeah.
We're gonna kind of running through all the topics of different modes, all the great options you can see in the future. I think I'd be amiss if I didn't ask you about the Southwest Light Rail extension.
Yeah.
So I know you recently have been involved with a special investigation into some of those delays and things that are going on.
Yes. Southwest, otherwise known as the Green Line extension, has been fraught with cost overruns and delays. And, was originally supposed to start next year, and now they're looking at 2027. And so the costs have been escalating steadily. We need to understand why that's happening and hold those accountable for it accountable. And so the legislature has an auditor that works for us, nonpartisan, objective, and we're asking the auditor to do a thorough study of what's gone wrong with the Green Line extension.
Yeah, and thank you for your work there. I'm really glad to be collaborating with you on these opportunities to show people that all kinds of folks are using the buses to get around, biking to get around, are going to have really great opportunities in the future as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to continue this conversation, and looking forward to seeing what you can get us in this year's legislative session.
Well, let's meet back at a bus stop in May, and I can give you an update on what happened at the legislature.
That sounds fantastic. Ideally, we'll be able to continue a safe bus ride either down Lake Street on the B line or the E line heading into
that's
downtown.
our future, and it's a future that will be more equitable and more climate friendly and connect people to jobs and schools and a lot of opportunities. That's our transit vision.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you to Move Minneapolis and all of your great work. Appreciate it.